KayFabe Smark Podcast. Welcome to the KayFabe Smark Podcast with Eric Todd and Brian Rampa, your Smart Mark source for news and opinions on the world of professional wrestling.
Hey, this is the KayFabe Smark Podcast. This is episode 50. You are tuning in on May 6th for the live YouTube version, checking it out, hanging out with us if you're one of our audio listeners. This is May 7th. You are getting this, and we are going to hang out, talk some pro wrestling, and dive in and get everything about wrestling in the world today. And our big meat and potatoes this week will be AEW's Blood and Guts. But before we get into any of that, and before we get into the news, let's go ahead and check in with our buddy Eric and see what's happening in his world. What's going on, Mr. Eric Todd?
Oh, you know, same old. Been chilling a lot. Had a little bit of extra time off this week. I'm addicted to the Peacock, Brian.
Addicted.
Show on there. Not exactly new, but you know me. I'm always hopping on the trains super late. Yellowstone, Kevin Costner, hell of a show.
I've heard about it. I've never watched it, but I heard about it.
Yeah, it's like today's time, but there's a lot of cowboys and horses and murders and people getting cancer and people killing themselves. And I'm in episode 4, bro. I'm in episode 4, and these season-ending events are already happening. So definitely recommend Yellowstone on the cock. And then
I've relaunched and re-dove into my love for The Office on Peacock and started just rewatching that, just something to go to sleep and hang out and have on the TV. And that shit makes me laugh. It's so awkward that I just cringe and I laugh and I squirm, and The Office makes me laugh. I love Michael Scott.
Well, it's good to see you replacing The Simpsons and Seinfeld. Those were always your go-tos for going to bed.
Don't get me wrong.
Slid right in.
Those are still in there, but yes, we're going to slip The Office right in there. This is episode 50. Make sure you're of the KayFabe Smark Podcast. Pardon me as I get tongue-tied. Make sure you guys head on over to all of our social media platforms. That's Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube. Subscribe, like, share, join, talk about it. Leave a rating, a review on either Spotify or Apple Podcast or Google Podcast or wherever you get your podcast from. And that helps us out. Make sure you head on over to audibletrial.com/KayFabeSmart. Get a free audiobook, free 30-day trial. Now that we've got all that out of the way, Eric Todd, is it time for the news?
It's time for the news. Go ahead and hit that button.
From around the world, the KayFabe Smark News, coming to your earballs. All right, what we got in the news this week?
All right, Brian, we're starting out hot with Trash Bag Gate Part 47. Chelsea Green came out. She's got a new podcast called 50 Shades of Green, and she revealed that for the audio, Brian's laughing and he's throwing me off. But she's got a new podcast. She revealed that when she was released, she also received a trash bag full of belongings, but they weren't her belongings, Brian. There's a quote on this, and I'm not going to quote the whole thing because it's awfully long. But I'll start out here. Upon further inspection of the trash bag, I started to realize I'm not really sure what's in this trash bag. I first pulled out some black boots, beautiful black boots, but not my black boots. And then I pull out a second pair of black boots. Again, beautiful boots, not my boots. Here we get to the third item. The third item was the most gorgeous little leather shrug with studs and diamonds and little flappy things and pink jewels and all sorts of things. Now, if you know women's wrestling, you know that the person who wears black leather with pink is always the same person. That is always going to be Natty. So I knew right away that the contents of my bag were actually Natty's box.
So if you're not familiar with what we're talking about here, last week it broke out just before we even popped on here and went live that Mickie James received her box after she was let go from the WWE, and it was she just got her box with a trash bag in it of all her junk, right?
Right. That was 2 weeks ago.
2 weeks ago,
That,
sorry.
because last week, what's his face, that dickhead everybody hated over at WWE got blamed for it and got fired.
Oh, that's right. But yes, this was Mickey James received a garbage bag full of her stuff, and Triple H and Stephanie took to Twitter apologizing about it. But now we have our third part of this story. Another trash bag is turned up, but not even her belongings.
No. Chelsea Green, and she goes on, I continue to go. I pulled a couple of things out. A lot of it was natties, but I did run into some questionable items, some cute little skirts, some cute little dresses, and things that kind of look like maybe Lana or Liv Morgan's. There was also a basketball. I don't know who the fuck is playing basketball backstage at WWE, but somebody's getting their hoops in. So that's where I'm going to end the quote. But yeah, she just received a grab bag, garbage bag, if you will, Chelsea Green, as her going away present.
The best is it's still people that are not let go, that haven't been furloughed. They're people that are still in the company. So Natty might want her gear. You know, these might be things that she wants.
Yeah, probably a good idea to have a couple pairs of black boots and your ring gear. Obviously, somebody was just going through the locker room and Natty was dropping a deuce or something, and they just snagged up all her shit and said, we're just going to go ahead and send this to Chelsea Green.
Yeah, that'll be good. Let's go ahead and send that out to her. This looks like her stuff. It's just a pile of everybody else's dirty laundry. Maybe they want her to wash it. Maybe it's her new job. She can get her job back.
You've been downgraded to janitorial duties there at Chelsea.
Well, I mean, nonetheless, this is nonsense, and hopefully that one guy was the only one responsible for it, and this can all be over here. No more mailing garbage back to people.
No more trash bag gate. In other news, Daniel Bryan has had his superstar profile moved to the alumni section of WWE.com. This happened pretty much right after he lost to Roman Reigns last Friday on SmackDown. Turns out his contract legitimately expired that night after his match. So WWE it's rumored that they're fighting pretty hard to get Daniel Bryan to sign another contract with them. But as of now, Daniel Bryan's a free agent. And I know Tony Khan's chomping at the bit. Don Callis is probably chomping at the bit. People over in Japan are probably writing hieroglyphics to try and get old Daniel Bryan to come over there.
Yeah, that would I would think he would be highly sought after, but you know, I don't know. I'm not sure what more could he go do, but he could bring the eyeballs. That's for sure. Whether he's going to bring amazing wrestling to the ring anymore, you know, he's not old, but he's been injured and he's been through the ringer, right? So don't know what he can bring. But he is Daniel Bryan.
And he's fresh off main eventing WrestleMania. So let's not forget that.
Bryan Danielson, as you go back to his real name on the indies.
Yes, with El Generico and Kevin Steen, all them boys all hanging out together.
Yeah, back together again. And Samoa Joe. Put them all together. They're all coming back.
All right, and over in A&W, not A&W. Get yourself a root beer float. Over in AEW, Brian Cage can have a sigh of relief because the rumors were flying around last week, Brian, that AEW was negotiating a contract with none other than Tessa Blanchard.
Oh,
and if you don't know, if our listeners here don't know, if they haven't heard somehow, Tessa Blanchard beat Brian Cage clean over in Impact Wrestling a couple years ago. But let's put these rumors to rest. Dave Meltzer on his podcast revealed that there is no negotiating going on between AEW and Tessa Blanchard. It was all just false rumors. So relax, Brian Cage. Calm down. Everything's cool.
Is she going to stay in Impact, or is she not wrestling, or is she just going to do the... I mean, there is no indie scene right now, really, it doesn't seem like.
You know, I haven't heard anything solid since she ran away to Mexico and took the Impact belt with her. But
Yeah, I wouldn't.
that was like last year. I haven't heard shit since concerning Tessa.
Yeah, I wouldn't think that Impact would want her back, but again, they need names, and she slightly has one.
And if Impact resigns her, yeah, AEW and Impact's relationship, Cage could be in trouble. That FTW belt
Could
could
be on the
be
line.
loosening its straps around his waist.
That belt could be on the line before we know it. Defended back in an Impact ring, maybe. Who the hell knows?
All right, and AEW is riding a roller coaster week to week ever since they NXT split off to Tuesday nights. We talked about it last week. They started at 1.2 million viewers. That was their first week unopposed with Mike Tyson. Second week, they dropped down to 1.1, also unopposed. And then last week, they were down to 889,000 viewers. Last week was kind of a dud of a show. But this week, thanks to Blood and Guts, they've been promoting the hell out of that. AEW drew 1.09 million viewers this week, so just under the 1.1. I'm sure Tony Khan's happy to break that million mark one more time.
Yeah, they keep getting it. They keep dancing up there. If they could get that average at that million, I think life will be good for AEW.
Yeah, for sure. If they could stay over 1 million, I think everyone would be happy campers.
Yeah, then they can just keep doing what they're doing. I don't really fear it, but I guess what I fear is that if they start dropping below that million, then TNT is going to start to get involved. Turner is going to get involved and go, "What are you doing?" Poking their finger in the story, or trying to send people in. We're going to send executives to you. We're going to send so and so. We're going to switch this out. You need to do something, and either force themselves into the company or basically force moves be made within the company. And then that can always get sticky, right? And you can start making harsh decisions. But if they can bring that million up themselves, nobody's going to care what they do, TNT wise, Turner wise. Then they can just keep making their fans happy. And I think that's
right.
That would be the best case scenario for the company.
Yeah, as long as they can stay in that like top 5, top 8, top 10 category on cable shows on Wednesday nights, I think Turner would stay off their back. But yeah, if they start dropping down 700,000, 600,000, who knows, man? You might see AEW over there on what channel is Impact on? It's like
Was
the
it
Nashville.
It used to be like
Access.
I think it's Access now, but it used to be like the Outdoor Network or something at one point when it was TNA still. But I think they've moved on from that these days.
You might see AEW on the TV Guide channel with the bars scrolling underneath it.
Like the free for all in the 90s when you would watch the free wrestling before the pay-per-view went live, and you'd get like 2 matches for free.
That was the way to go, man. And then my final story this week, not really wrestling related, but related to a star of this year's WrestleMania, Logan Paul, Brian. Logan Paul will be boxing Floyd Mayweather on June 6th, and today was their press conference. I was able to watch it live, just a little smack talking between Logan Paul and Floyd Mayweather on the stage. They did some stuff on the side, little one-on-one press briefings. Jake Paul, Logan Paul's little brother, who just beat that old UFC fighter like a month ago, he stepped in to talk some trash to Mayweather. Mayweather said he would fight both Paul brothers on June 6th. So a little trash talking going on. Jake Paul, the more obnoxious of the two Paul brothers, proceeded to snatch Mayweather's hat off of his head and say, "Got your hat," and ran away. And Mayweather lost his shit. Mayweather's over 40. I believe he's 4 years older than me, so I believe Mayweather's right around 43 years old. Chased after Jake Paul. The way I'm saying it sounds like a work, but Mayweather was pissed. He is dropping F-bombs. He's saying, "When I see you, I'm going to kill you. You don't know who you're effing with, blah, blah, blah. Jake Paul ended up with a legit black eye, and he claims one of Mayweather's, and I quote, 50 bodyguards got a good shot on him. So who knows? It's going to be a complete circus for the next month until June 6th. But
oh my
yeah,
God. I did not
it
see
is-
or hear about any of this, so this is all new to me. I'll have to go in and look up the YouTube clips and check it out. But I don't know. I hate that. Like, I don't even like when celebrities get involved in wrestling that don't
Right.
need to be there. But man, like this is just complete nonsense. Because this is supposed to be like, at least wrestling is supposed to be sports entertainment, right? So you get entertained with it, so you can crisscross some celebrities in and out of it. But this is supposed to be a legitimate sport. Like, I mean, imagine a bunch of YouTubers challenging like the Tampa Bay to a football game, and thinking that like they put together a better football team, and then there's a football game of YouTube reality stars versus NFL players, and then it's like this is the nonsense that goes in front of it. People be like, "What are we doing here?"
Well, this is the Paul brothers, so the way they've been arranging their fights, it would be more so the Paul brothers getting a group of YouTubers to challenge the Tampa Bay Buccaneers to a game of ice hockey. You know, it's just a complete circus.
Just a cash money grab, and it's going to be nonsense. I think it's stupid.
Yeah,
I won't watch it, but I'll keep up on the nonsense, but I won't watch it.
Yeah, I don't know if I'm going to pay for it, but definitely something I'm going to keep my eye on. But just through the press conference, everything was cool. Mayweather stated a few times, these guys are YouTubers. They're not real fighters. I'm a real fighter. I've been doing this for, 25, 30 years, something like that. This is an exhibition for me. This is a real fight for them. This is an exhibition for me. I'm just going out there to entertain you guys and make some money. And Paul brothers just had to go off the deep end with it.
So are they going to fight them back to back? So he's going to fight one, then fight the other? He's going to fight them both at the same time? Is this going to be some three-way, one arm tied behind your back?
Now, I had to bring wrestling into it because I was discussing this with my son. He goes, why wouldn't Mayweather fight them both? And I go, duh, because that's two separate pay-per-views.
Yeah.
Why would you do Hogan versus Andre and then Hogan versus Ultimate Warrior on the same show? You don't do that. You make people pay twice for that shit.
Yeah. So I would think they're going to have to pay twice or do two shows or I don't know.
Yeah, there's no way they're going to let a second fight like that, a sought-after fight like that, go for free. But also bringing wrestling into it, I was explaining to my son that it's funny because as long as I can remember, Mayweather's always been the heel. He's always been the shit talker. Everyone wanted Conor McGregor to shut him up and beat his ass. Everyone wanted Manny Pacquiao to shut Mayweather up and beat his ass. Mayweather is a natural-born heel. Now he's a babyface.
Yeah. I mean,
now he's an old man and retired and coming out of retirement to shut up these little whippersnapper YouTubers. Floyd Mayweather is a babyface.
Floyd Mayweather's a baby. I mean, he beat the Big Show at WrestleMania one year, like WrestleMania 26 or something like that. So you just, sit tight. He can beat anybody.
Right. He beat a 7 foot 500-pound giant. So who knows?
It's
going to be a shit show either way.
Yuck. Yuck. Do you have any other news for us this week?
That wraps us up on the news, Brian. So if you want to hit that music, we can move on to segment number 2.
Bum, 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 bum. That was the news.
Around the world.
Around the world. We learned a little bit. We hated a little bit. And now it is over.
We loved. We cried.
All right. It is time for Overrated, Underrated. We're going to talk
all right
promos this week. Now, if you're not familiar with the exact promo I'm speaking of, you can just riff on the guys. You can overrate or underrate his promos. But I believe you should be familiar with all the promos. So I'm going to do specific promos from specific guys, and you can overrate or underrate that moment.
You're turning the screws, Rampa. You're really putting the pressure on me this week. We'll see.
You can overrate or underrate the promos. These are all pretty generic. We'll start out first with overrated, underrated, the Austin 316 is Born promo at King of the Ring.
Now, my instinct would go to that one and say it's overrated. It was pretty short. It was just off the cuff, and it just happened to be the match that lit the forest fire. But no matter how much you try to downgrade that promo, it will never extinguish the flames of what that promo did. So that promo, no matter what, no matter how short it was, no matter how off the cuff it was, it's always going to be underrated because that was the ignition of the Attitude Era, and everybody made so much money just because of that one promo.
Especially Steve Austin in 316 t-shirts.
Yeah, which according to his A&E biography that I finished this week, to this day, Stone Cold Steve Austin merchandise is still near the top of the list on WWEshop.com.
I believe that. Number 2, overrated, underrated, Y2J, Raw is Jericho, the debut of Chris Jericho interrupting The Rock on Monday Night Raw.
All right, so I'm going to say that one was a tad bit overrated. If you take Rock out of the equation, it's just another Jericho promo. I'll probably get some heat on that one, but Rock made that promo. Here I am. I'm overrating, underrating Jericho at this moment, aren't I? The promo itself was fantastic, but I think it gets a little too much credit.
What it gets is, and I agree with you, what it gets is it was great for the moment. I was geeked through the roof when that moment happened. But when you go back and rewatch it, it's not very good. It was the debut of Jericho on Raw that was big. Jericho getting in some of his catchphrases, interrupting The Rock, and The Rock was able to throw the gasoline to make those flames grow.
Right. You said it better. You said exactly what I was trying to say. So a smidge overrated on the Jericho promo.
Let's go with overrated, underrated, CM Punk in the infamous pipe bomb when he came out and interrupted Monday Night Raw wearing the Stone Cold shirt and sat Indian style or crisscross applesauce on the stage.
I knew this one was coming. I was wondering what is going to be because everybody's got to talk about the pipe bomb. And man, that would be underrated. People love it. It gets a lot of credit, but it doesn't get enough credit, I don't think. That had anybody who watched wrestling at all questioning, was it a work or was it a shoot? Everybody. It reignited old fans, new fans, fans from other promotions. It brought everyone together. And there's people who still talk shit on that promo. Not very many, but that promo was absolutely humongous, and there's no way to overrate it.
Overrated, underrated. Hulk Hogan's promo joining the NWO when he turned heel.
That's going to be another one that is impossible to overrate. So that's going to have to be underrated because Hogan turning heel was one of the biggest moments in wrestling history. And that got so many gears turning and blew WCW through the atmosphere.
Yeah.
So there's no way to overrate that one. That was humongous. That's got to be in the top 3 promos.
Last one. This is my wild card. So we'll see if you know the promo, but I think you will. Overrated, underrated, Dusty Rhodes, the Hard Time promo. Do you remember Dusty cutting that Hard Time promo? This was a wild card.
It's a little before my time, that's probably gonna affect my answer here because I'm gonna say it was overrated. Dusty was a great talker, but as the years went on and we saw some of the more amazing promos, even ones you haven't mentioned, as the years went on, Dusty's hard working, or what is it?
The Hard Times.
Hard times promo.
I dined with kings and queens. I've ate chicken and beans. I don't know. He had his little rhymes to it and the whole thing. And
it's still a great promo, but as time went on, it just kind of, I think, faded into the background.
What I couldn't agree with you more on that one. I do like what I like about the Hard Times promo is the sound bites you get from the Hard Times promo. I'm the son of a plumber, right? Those Dusty clips, but the whole thing was, for the moment, I mean, he spoke from his heart, but other things buried and moved that along. All right, that's my overrated, underrated this week of promos. So now we can move on, and we can talk about AEW Blood and Guts.
All right, so there was some controversy surrounding this show, Brian. The only match that was live on this episode of AEW Dynamite was the Blood and Guts match itself. So there was people complaining all over Twitter, all over the internet, that they got to Daly's place and they paid however much money for their tickets to sit in their seats and to watch an hour of wrestling on a projection screen in Daly's place.
Wow. I'm going to sit here completely shocked. I had no clue. Now, I did notice, what I did notice is that I thought the camera work, I'm not even saying this just because you said it. Like, if I wish I could have had you sitting here watching with me. The camera work in the matches was very fourth wall. You know what I'm saying? Like, very like sitcom-esque, where they didn't ever shoot. There was no shots of the crowd. And so it was very in the not for, I mean, during Blood and Guts there was a little more, but during the Britt Baker match that we'll talk about later, it was shot from weird angles and you didn't see that crowd shot at all. So what I thought they were doing in not using the crowd during those matches personally was I thought that it was because maybe they were pushing the COVID restrictions and they didn't want to see what was going down in the crowd. So that's what I thought was happening, but it was just a pre-taped matches with no crowd, and then they went live for that.
And they didn't even let anyone know ahead of time. It was pretty much you bought your tickets however long ago. You got to Daly's place, you got your popcorn and your soda pop, and you sit down and you get ready to watch some wrestling, and they're like, oh yeah, by the way, the first hour you guys get to just watch on the big screen here. It was taped earlier. The complaints got so wild that Tony Khan offered refunds for anyone who attended. So that's kind of a shot in the dick.
What was the point?
I think the cage was so hard to move. This wasn't because it's the outdoor arena. They probably couldn't have the rig like they do with a Hell in a Cell, where you can just have that bad boy dangling for a couple hours.
Right. WCW and War Games, they had it dangling even when they do the War Games for after WWE runs it now in NXT. They always have it above the ring and they just drop it down, right, then secure it up. So they don't have that in that. I mean, there's a ceiling, but not your traditional ceiling at that place. So, yeah, I guess that would be challenging, but still, you think you'd figure something else out. You could at least go to one pre-taped match or something. I don't think you need a whole hour.
Or, you got more than two rings. Why not run the first hour over on the football field fuckery turf, Just hop over, walk next door to Jacksonville Arena or whatever, and do the first half of the show there. I I don't know. There was something they could have pulled off to make it live.
Yeah, that would have made me mad too, especially if you had to pay to get in. Now, if they were free tickets to get in, we can do. But clearly, they were paid tickets, so that'd make me mad to get in and watch TV. It's like, shit, I could have sat home and watched it more comfortably.
Right. And the only match that was live was Blood and Guts. So essentially, you paid for a seat to watch one match. It was a long match. It was an entertaining match, but it was one match.
Oof. Yeah, well, I'm with the people.
The people have spoken. But yeah, now that the controversy of the show is out of the way, we can get started with the taped portion of AEW Dynamite on Cinco de Mayo. Kenny Omega and Michael Nakazawa were scheduled to fight Jon Moxley and Eddie Kingston. Again, nothing can go as planned. Everything's got to be a weird, contrived spot. Don Callis comes out immediately, and it's just it's fake as all hell when Callis is cutting this promo and letting everybody know that Omega's not going to make it. You've got the commentators shitting on it the entire time. Callis is lying. Callis is lying. Don Callis, if his mouth's open, he's lying. And so there is no mystery. There's nothing about it. You know Kenny Omega is going to come out, and Kenny Omega does. The match is pushed that it's going to be a handicap match with Moxley and Kingston fighting Nakazawa. Not burning any time as Kingston and Mox are coming down to the ring. Kenny Omega blasts out of the crowd or the side entrance there and beats the shit out of both of them with a belt. Rolls Eddie Kingston into the ring, beaten down and hurt. Mox is on the floor, beaten down and hurt. Paul Turner doesn't check on Kingston, doesn't consult with an AEW official, doesn't do anything. The minute Kingston's beaten and battered ass rolls into that ring, our boy Paul Turner, I don't know if you got the buttons hot.
I was just getting ready to...
Turner's a moron.
Precisely. Signals to ring the bell. So, yeah, this is all legit, Brian. This is all on the up and up.
Yeah. And then, even as the match rolled on, even JR, his response was, "Is this a Texas Tornado Rules match?" And then Tony Schiavone and Excrement both go, "I don't think so. Paul Turner's
a moron.
Is having a hard time controlling these guys tonight." And he's just jumping around like an idiot.
Yeah, from the beginning, this thing's a complete shit show. Mox is still injured on the outside. Kingston's getting double teamed by Nakazawa and Kenny Omega here. And even the spots, even when this thing kind of turns into a wrestling match, I use that term loosely, it's still a shit show. Moxley gets involved, saves Eddie Kingston's ass, throws Nakazawa out onto the floor, and proceeds to just stand in one spot awkwardly, not doing anything for a solid 4 seconds or so, because our boy Twinkle Toes was late on his cue, Kenny Omega, and Mox had to wait for Kenny Omega to attack him from behind. So it's just, man, this match, nothing went smoothly. Nothing looked good this entire match.
This match would have been better if they would have just had Kenny come out with Nakazawa, make Nakazawa go to the ring first, lose the coin, like have him do a coin toss like he doesn't want to go in the ring, but cheat the coin toss and, oh, you're in. But always, like, miss the tag when Nakazawa's getting his ass beat the entire time, right?
Again, you pulling booking out of your ass is better than what's on national TV.
So, like, imagine he's going for the tag. Nakazawa's just getting murdered. He reaches for the tag, and then he leans over, and Don Callis tugs on Kenny's pant legs, and he leans over, and he goes, huh? Oh, he misses the tag. Or he slips. Or he gets hit. Or he gets poked in the eye, and he's walking around the outside of the ring for an hour and a half. Like, all that stuff would be great heel shit that would translate well into burying, Kenny and letting his best friend get beat up.
Right, precisely. And having Paul Turner involved in this, it's literally like you have a garbage sandwich and then just taking a shit on top of it to make it even worse. The blatant cheating. I understand heels are supposed to cheat. And as far as I knew, this wasn't a no DQ match, but you got Nakazawa choking Eddie Kingston with his lanyard, blatantly taking the lanyard off in front of Paul Turner, choking him, and Paul Turner's just waving his hands, and the guy, he needs to be at home, unemployed, collecting an unemployment check.
Oh, yeah, he's a miserable ref. I can put up with anybody else, even the other guy that you hate, I can deal with.
Rick Knox.
Rick Knox. I can put up with Rick Knox. Paul Turner drives me batty. But there's nothing we can do about that. But, yes, there was a lot of blatant stuff going on. The choking with the lanyard, the little headset thing that Nakazawa wears. His laptop was probably involved again. Kenny's beating people before the match with belts. And just stand there. Nobody's tagging. People are in and out. There's double teams, triple teams. Everybody's in the ring. And he can't count to 10 to save his life.
And these poor commentators are forced to try and cover his ass, unless that's just Jim Ross being a professional. But even Jim Ross gets involved in this, and he's trying to imply that Paul Turner is intimidated by Kenny Omega. I'm pretty sure there's some 4-year-old kids at the preschool down the street who wouldn't be intimidated by Kenny Omega. But Paul Turner, Mr. Meek and Mild, he's just going to let the heels do whatever they want, whenever they want, right in his stupid face, because he's intimidated by Kenny Omega.
Yeah, he's a scary, scary man, Kenny Omega.
That's why we call him Twinkle Toes, because he's such an alpha, scary male. But Omega ends up quitting this match, kind of just brushes off the match and takes off, goes into his heel tunnel, and he's going to leave Nakazawa to take the L from Mox and Kingston doing their half and half finisher. And then the afterbirth, Brian.
The afterbirth.
The Young Bucks and the Good Brothers come out, and they put the beat down on Mox and Kingston. The Good Brothers and Nick Jackson, for some reason, Matt Jackson decided not to participate, but they're all wearing leather hats. I don't know what they've been watching, if they Googled what should bad guys wear or what do tough guys wear, and leather hats from 1989 came up. I don't know what the fuck they're going for with the leather hats. The Young Bucks look like a biker gang from Rainbow Road with their with their loud colors, and it's a shame. It's a shame, Brian, that Jon Moxley and Eddie Kingston, two of the biggest baby faces in the company, they have no friends. It seems like anytime Omega's in trouble, anytime the Young Bucks are in trouble, they've got 53 people coming out to help them. But not Mox and Kingston. They're getting the shit kicked out of them for 5 minutes solid. Not one ref, not one Tony Khan, not one baby face from the back. Nobody gives a shit. Just let them take the beat down.
Just let them take the beat down. Yeah. Christian Cage doesn't come out and get involved, who wants to be involved in the main event matches. You could involve his old accomplices, Ray Phoenix and Penta, who were supposed to be his best friends at one time, right?
Right.
Who are baby faces now. The Death Triangle's baby face running.
I know. You never think you'd see a faction Death Triangle with skulls everywhere.
And
baby faces.
So it's like they could have came out and reunited that, but just nope. Nobody likes them. Fuck them.
Nobody cares. Fuck them. So I don't know. Match number 1. The AEW's been coming hot with first matches lately. Even if they end up being a little squirrely when they're operated upon execution, when you first see them, they look like great matches. And this thing
sucks since last week, and we didn't know when they were going to do it.
Just the promo on it from last week sucked, and knowing we're going to have Nakazawa in a match, and even this week, he's known he's had a match for a solid week, still shows up in his khakis and polo and lanyard around his neck and his headset on.
Yeah, I guess that's his ring gimmick. He's just a personal assistant ring wrestler.
I could have swore you and I saw him in his panties putting baby oil all over himself, but no, he just wants to dress like an assistant manager at Wendy's now.
He works at Office Depot. This was a stinkeroonie, and the worst part about it is you didn't even know why they were fighting.
Right.
So, I mean, was the big kick so that Moxley could get his hands and Kingston could get their hands on Kenny? But, it was just who cares?
That was the thing. They pinned Nakazawa and they celebrated the victory. The whole point of this match was to fight Kenny Omega, and you got nothing on him. The guy never took a bad bump throughout the entire match, and he just left. So nothing got accomplished in this match.
Yeah, nothing got accomplished in it. It does, even if you just say, well, the titles or the wins and losses matter in AEW. You go, well, it's a tag match, and Kenny Omega is the heavyweight champion, a singles champion. So that win-loss doesn't mean anything.
Doesn't mean squat.
Unless they're going to slowly creep up the Eddie Kingston, John Moxley tag team and make that a thing out of nowhere. But we'll talk about tag teams in just a little bit.
Yeah, for now, we've got to move on to the highly anticipated Cody Rhodes versus QT Marshall, the splitting of the Nightmare family here, Brian.
This one actually wasn't terrible. It's been run dry already, and it hasn't even happened yet.
I just wasn't excited to see this. They haven't built it up properly. Everything's just been a shit show, and because everything QT's been doing for the past month, this isn't just going to be a wrestling match. It's going to be a bunch of garbage, and the cherry on top of the shit sundae is Bryce Remsburg. Bryce Remsburg is officiating this match, and Paul Turner must have been training him, because almost right off the bat.
I know exactly the spot you're going for. It just popped. Go ahead. Go.
Cody Rhodes, famous for his weight belt. He likes to take it off and spank a boy or two with it. Cody Rhodes takes his weight belt off. Bryce Remsburg immediately intervenes, rips Cody Rhodes' weight belt out of his hands, throws it off to the side. QT, almost on cue, immediately has his own weight belt, takes it off, and proceeds to slap the living shit out of Cody Rhodes with his weight belt. Bryce Remsburg, no DQ, no nothing, just gingerly picks up the weight belt after QT Marshall drops it on the mat and slides it out of the ring. No stern talking to. It should have been an instant DQ in my eyes. If Cody can't even hold on to his belt, why does QT get to spank Cody with his?
Get to spank Cody with his. The fact that you've used the term spanking about 6 times in this one lead in here. Yeah, I knew exactly when I saw that. I went, this is terrible. This is not good. And I was thinking, what are they there's just no consistency. We've complained and ranted about it on here numerous times, but the inconsistency is going to be their death.
The inconsistency is there, and we can bitch about it all we want, but it still hurts. It still hurts your soul as a wrestling fan when somebody of the likes of Bryce Rimjob here goes ahead and just shoves it right in your face that there are no rules. The small amount of rules we do have, they don't matter because we're just going with the script, and no matter what happens, nothing's going to deviate from anything. We're just going to let the wrestlers do whatever they want and improvise whatever they want. No rules. The official doesn't matter. You might as well not even be there.
I'm still with the fact that if all they had to do was say, hey, this is a no rules match, the winner of this just goes away, gets their butt beat. Even if they let it into a strap match, do something, but they didn't. It's just a match on Wednesday night. And the other sad thing is with AEW is that their pay-per-views are so far apart that by the time they get to it, they've already blown off a storyline that should have been a pay-per-view match. Maybe not a headlining pay-per-view match, just stating something that should have been the blow-off for that particular segment. So it's just, they got about a month, a couple weeks before their next one here, so maybe they can get something done with this, but it's just, is there anything left in this feud?
No, I think this is it.
Unless
I don't think
the only
Cody
thing I can
and
see is that they
QT
go
will
for
see each other.
Unless they go for a strap match because of the straps that we're trying to use. You hit me with a strap, I couldn't hit you with a strap, but that makes too much sense. They won't do that.
Exactly. You took the words right out of my mouth. And I hate to say that they should have just said this is going to be a no DQ match, because that's lazy booking. That's just, we don't want to figure things out and make things work in an entertaining and consistent way. We'll just say no DQ. It's lazy as hell, but
at least it would
if you're
make
gonna
sense.
if you're gonna have two of your better workers, QT and Cody are both good workers, but if they're just gonna go off script and do stupid shit and just completely bury the ref, you might as well just say no DQ. It's better than having inconsistent rules and Bryce Remsburg with his thumb up his ass.
Yeah, 100% agree. I know it's very entertaining to listen to people agree on the internet, but I agree with you.
And it continues. So that, to say one good thing about this match, QT Marshall hit a double underhook slam off the top rope on Cody Rhodes. That thing was pretty. That was a nice slam there. Followed it up with a German suplex, only got a 2 count. But here comes more bullshit.
If before you get into the bullshit, if these two could just get out of their own way, they have the fundamentals are locked in 100%. So just run with them and put on a wrestling match.
Oh, 100%. These two, they're friends in real life. They've worked together. They train together. They, they're involved in each other's lives outside of wrestling. And QT is a fundamentally sound guy. Same with Cody. These two, if they just got the bullshit out of their head, they could put on an awesome match. But instead, Brian, we're outside of the ring. We have QT Marshall attacking Arn Anderson for no reason. Arn Anderson, the 65-year-old chubby guy who you wouldn't believe could beat up a Pomeranian, let alone QT Marshall. Arn Anderson punches QT. QT sells it like he got hit by fucking Evander Holyfield. He sold the shit out of an Arn Anderson punch.
Yeah, the Arn Anderson spot is just sad. It's Arn is old, out of shape, and he hurts, right? That's why he quit wrestling when his arm went numb, and he doesn't need to be trying to sell that anymore and put that over. He should just be there and be the brains of it, and he's a great manager. He can still talk. He can do that stuff, whatever. But the physical stuff needs to be left alone because it looks silly. He looks bad, and the people that are selling it look for the worse as well.
Right. Letting Arn Anderson punch you and having to sell it just you're burying yourself. You got a shovel in one hand and you're laying in a 6-foot hole. But I was going to say, if you were there live, you got a little strip show, but nobody was there live, apparently. Cody Rhodes does a sunset flip on QT, and Cody's really struggling to put this sunset flip through. QT pretty much loses his trunks at this point, and TNT is forced to blur his butt because old QT Marshall's pulling a Shawn Michaels and showing his ass on TV.
Yeah, that should have been the first sign right there. Didn't even think about it that they were recorded.
and the shit rolls on. So Cody hits a nice looking moonsault here. You can tell we're approaching the end of this match. We're getting some false finishes. Cody hits a moonsault. QT Marshall avoids a disaster kick and hits Cody Rhodes with the crossroads using his own move on him. And then it's Cirque de Bullshit. I believe it's QT who initiates this. We got a standing 69 between Cody Rhodes and QT Marshall, and they just, like high school girls on a dance team, Brian, they're just doing backflips around the ring. They did at least 3. It was anywhere between 3 and 5 backflips in a 69 position.
Yeah,
and
those back bends from the tombstone pile driver position.
Yeah, and it's Cirque de Bullshit. To use the same phrase twice, that's precisely what this is. We're doing 69 tombstone back bends. We're 2 serious wrestlers, 2 respected wrestlers in this business, and we're just going to do comedy shit for no reason. Comedy.
I don't even know if they were going.
Does not belong in this match.
I don't even know if they were going for comedy. I just think it was just shit. I could buy the one that Cody overpowered him, and they did it. And he overpowered it, and he took over the tombstone.
I agree.
I can maybe go with the second one for QT to get it back, but then it's a wrap. And you're already pushing my limits.
2 is the absolute limit on this spot.
And that's still redlining it. We are over the top.
You say you don't think it was comedy, and I'd like to agree with you on this, but with these 2 experienced guys in the ring, how could they let themselves do that without it being an inside joke? If honestly they did that without it being an inside joke, then they, as performers, are jokes.
I think they were. I honestly still don't think it was comedy ended. I think it was like a show off thing, like a feats of strength. Look what we can do. I don't know if they were going for the ha spot, unless it was some inside joke, because I don't see how it would. 200 back bends like that was funny, but it was rough and it was bad.
It was ugly, but Cody ends up coming out on top and hitting the tombstone on QT. Follows it up with a crossroads. QT kicks out at a 2 count. That should have been the end of the match. Cody hitting a crossroads after a tombstone, after their 52 back bends. That was the logical ending of this match, but instead we just take it one step further. Cody also has to put a figure 4 on QT here. And I don't know if it was a cut in production. Cut, no pun intended here. But it seems like Cody is okay when he hits the tombstone. It's okay. Cody is okay when he hits the crossroads. But as Cody puts on this figure 4, all of a sudden, he's got a gash over his right eye, and he's pouring blood down his face. I don't know where this cut supposedly happened or was even supposed to happen to where he would blade himself.
I don't know when it happened either, and I was thinking the same thing. But what I ended up, the story in my head that I made up, is that it was just that it wasn't a blade job. So in my theory, it's not a blade job, that it is a small nick, that just caught him right on the eyelash, somewhere in that area. And in the midst of trying to hold QT Marshall up doing backflips, it's just a little, that's the pressure's building, and it gets mixed with the sweat, and as he's got him inside the figure four, it just kind of starts to bleed a little, because it wasn't like gushing, it was just enough, though, that you could see it, but it didn't look like a good blade job. It just looked like a little nick that kind of, right there on the eye line that just got mixed with the sweat and the pressure of figure fours and yelling and performing made it go a little more. That was a story, because I was like, it didn't make any other sense to why he got color or when he would have even got it.
Right. So, I mean, I guess you can't hate a guy for getting busted open the hard way or by accident, but it was just confusing at that point. Cody ends up getting the dub with the figure four, and then in true AEW fashion, it's afterbirth time. Our boy Anthony Ogogo comes out to the ring dressed like a Depression-era paper boy, and can you guess what he delivers to the match, Brian?
I'm going to guess he punches him in the stomach.
It's a tummy punch. You winner, chicken dinner. Punches Cody in the tummy, drops him like a sack of potatoes, covers him up with the British flag like he just served in World War II, and that would go precisely with his paperboy outfit, and that's the end of this shit show.
So, not only is it the end of that particular segment, but the way that it all ends, he comes out, and then they're like, oh, I always forget what the British flag is called, something Union Jack. And they're like, Tony Schiavone's like, oh, and he lays the Union Jack over top of him. First off, is Anthony Ogogo British? I don't know. Nobody's filled me in on
I've
that.
heard him talk once, and I guess come to think of it, he does have a British accent.
So, but it didn't like ring true to me. So I was, they didn't fill in a backstory. You have 1 million people watching. Assume that all 1 million don't know everything about what's happening at all times. Fill somebody in.
The whole flag thing was just completely unnecessary and equally as confusing.
And then, not only is it that confusing, they cut immediately to the production team sitting there, or the commentators, and then JR says, I remember a match once where a guy laid his flag over top of his opponent. Didn't work out so well for that man. The man who got the flag laid over top of him came back and won. Well, way to give that away. Like, he gave away what's going to happen the next time those two idiots fight.
Yeah, I mean...
But it's, you know what I'm saying? Like, it was the same thing back in, like, 2000, 98, when Hogan and the Warrior were going to wrestle at Halloween Havoc in WCW. Warrior comes back, right? And Warrior goes, Warrior fashion, I already beat you once, Hogan. Meaning at, like, WrestleMania, 6 when he won the title?
Yeah, I believe so.
And then everybody's going, don't give it away. People are going to pay to watch us fight. They don't already want it. You know what I'm saying? Like, we've got a whole new crop of people watching this wrestling. Don't give it away that you've already beat him once. And so then JR just goes on and says, I remember when somebody else did this. Well, it didn't work for him. Well, in wrestling fashion, you're going to tell the same story again. So...
Yeah, and that's precisely what Tony Khan and AEW like to do. They like to retell old stories, and I get it, and it works, but old JR just giving away the ending right there.
That's the way I saw it. I don't know. I know it was so minor and minute, but for one, he lays the flag over him. Boom, the camera cuts. JR I think, literally has no idea what to say. Talks about a time that another guy did it. Doesn't say who either guy was in the match. I don't know. It was just like, what are we talking about?
I had no idea what JR was talking about at this point, and I forgot about it. So thanks for bringing that up.
And then to top it off, they just move on past it like it never happened and just jump to introducing the next thing.
Right. Poor Cody Rhodes is left looking like Apollo Creed with the professional boxing standing over him, just dead in the middle of the ring with a flag over him. And let's just go to the back. We've got Alex Marvez back there with Ethan Page and Scorpio Sky. Nobody cares that Cody Rhodes has a ruptured spleen and a shattered liver.
He was punched in the tummy. And then we got to listen to Scorpio Sky try. And his promo is never going to be on the overrated, underrated list. And if it is, it'll never be underrated. I don't even know if it's going to be overrated to be. It's just going to be rated.
No. Just to preface this, Brian, for the audience at home, you and I, we're buds in real life. We're friends. We both watch wrestling, but we don't watch wrestling together. Throughout the week, we don't discuss wrestling because we save it for the air. We're professionals here. And my first line on this promo was Scorpio Sky cuts a way too fired up promo on Sting. He's all fired up over a 63-year-old guy, isn't he? He is try-harding this to the max. And it's calm down, Scorpio.
And then he's trying hard to be hard in that same thing.
Right.
Like we're trying to be like, yeah, son, what's up, fool? Like, it's like, that's not Scorpio Sky.
Yeah. Sting. It's the least intimidating guy on the roster. He's 63 years old and he moves like a rusty robot. And Scorpio Sky, one of the top performers in the business, is going hard on him like he needs to intimidate him. It just comes off as try hard and overbearing and almost like he's bullying the poor senior citizen at this point.
I mean, Sting in that dandelion haircut he's got, where you just wind blows too hard, you make a wish and plant new stings across the land.
Thank God it's not snowing anymore. Fuck. It just blends in right in his cotton top hairdo there. But then you got Ethan Page, and he goes in hard on Darby Allin here. And right on cue, Darby Allin flies in from stage left, just flies and attacks Ethan Page and Scorpio Sky. Scorpio Sky and Ethan Page put the hurting on Darby here. We're on the upper concourse here at Daly's place. And Darby Irish whips Scorpio Sky or flings him or some sort into that rail. And the dad in me, I don't know what it was, oh my God, that seems pretty dangerous.
That's dangerous. Hi, I'm Darby Allin, and welcome to Jackass.
Precisely. As he climbs up this emergency ladder here, he's about 12 feet in the sky. I don't know if I missed him looking back to actually make sure Ethan Page was behind him, but it seemed like he just climbed that ladder 12 feet in the air and coffin dropped right towards the concrete just immediately. He's lucky Ethan Page was there, or he would have cracked his nugget right there on the concrete.
Yeah, this spot this whole promo, the promo was bad. The spot that comes up after it here in this match, it was AEW. It wasn't bad. It was just AEW. It was just properly rated along the AEW line of how things have to go. You know, Darby Allin's got to get his shit in. So what can I jump off of?
Right. And the only thing I took from this promo and this spot and this abortion on the concourse here was that Darby Allin is a fucking idiot. The minute I saw them wrestling around on the concourse here, and the minute I saw those stairs were open for interpretation and use, I knew Darby Allin's stupid ass was going to go flying down those concrete stairs. And they didn't leave me disappointed. I was disappointed in them doing it, but I was right in my prediction. Darby Allin gets thrown down a flight of concrete stairs. What a fucking moron.
Maroon. Yeah. No, I mean, he loves to take those spots, and you just to come to expect it now. And when his career's cut short when he's 30, you're just going to go, well, that makes sense. You're not going to you won't feel bad or be surprised. You just go, oh, well, he made it that long? Cool, good for him.
And I understand taking a risky spot, pulling a Kevin Steen and jumping off a a WrestleMania set or whatever for a big pay-per-view. Darby Allin's doing these ridiculous spots every week on free TV. He's not making extra money to roll down the stairs. All he's doing is risking his health.
Not only free TV, Eric. Free TV, in a sense. Free TV, but pre-taped TV with no fans. He didn't even get the rush of doing it in front of people.
Nope, the streets down below in Jacksonville looked empty. He didn't have a soul in the area to watch him.
No, so you're going, wow, he's willing to do this for literally nobody. Like, is that how he just goes to get his laundry in the morning? His coffin drops down the stairs as he slides down. He's like, oh, my socks are in the dryer. And just, like, nobody's there, but he's like, that was amazing. And then his cat's happy for him. Like,
might as well. I don't know. This whole thing I didn't get. Ethan Page, again, assuming that we gave a shit about what him and Darby did on the Indies. He left a permanent dent in Darby's head, so now he has to paint his face every day to cover up the dent in his skull, and then he's rolling down the stairs. This was just garbage.
yeah. I didn't hate it so much because I've had my standards so low for AEW type of stuff like this that it just kind of fit in and I just moved past it. It just existed for me. The only thing I picked up is that Scorpio Sky sucks at trying to be mean. So he can be a heel, he can be angry, but just not this guy. But maybe he'll figure it out. We move on.
Right. We move on to Britt Baker versus Julia Hart. Julia Hart making her AEW debut. Looks
Not
like she
from
hasn't
Canada.
had time. Doesn't look like she had time to get some ring gear made. It just looks like a high school dance team, Palms team uniform here that she's wearing against Britt Baker. And I was actually going to ask you that, Brian, because I didn't bother rewinding it. Did Jim Ross say she was from Calgary or she was not from Calgary?
Was not. She's not part of the Hart
Okay.
Dynasty type thing, whatever they want. They're not selling it as that. She just happened to be Julia Hart.
Yes. Natty and Brett want nothing to do with this girl. And
Nope.
I can see why.
Yeah, this was built and sold as a squash match from the word go. And Dr. Britt Baker comes out to what I believe is a new Contron intro, her new little video that plays up there on the AEW Titantron, as we'll call it, the Contron. And it's it just caught my eye that it was new and different. But other than that, it might have been not as new as I'm remembering, but it was new to me last night.
Yeah, I didn't notice that. I did notice on her on-screen graphic that she came out with Rebel, and in parentheses it said not Reba. So
That thing has been
so
pretty
it
funny
is
to
what
me.
it is.
Yeah, so she comes out and just kind of stalks around the ring. They get this thing going, and it is all Dr. Britt Baker to start this thing off first.
Yeah, this was the only thing on the whole show that went as planned and got done what it was supposed to get done. Britt Baker just needed to be seen on TV. She made her place known that she's the number one contender. You can't sit there and push someone as a number one contender and not have them on TV. So she just needed to go out there and do something. And she did it. Went out there, squash match. Britt Baker wins with the lockjaw.
Yeah, in like this short 2 minutes or something. They just let it go out. The intros were longer.
Yeah. And from there, we move on to this. I don't even know what to call this train wreck here. So we've got a 4-team tag team tornado. I don't know what the hell tag match here. And I didn't realize, maybe I missed it. Maybe they said it at the beginning. I had no idea what this match was for until about 3/4 through the match. They said the winner of this match gets a title match against the Young Bucks for the tag team championships next week.
Didn't we already discuss that last week? The tag team in this match came down and said, we get our tag team. We're the number one contenders now. We get a tag. We are the best ranking tag team. Blah 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 blah. We get our championship match. We'll see you Young Bucks soon. Frankie Kazarian and Christopher Daniels claim their spot. Now this week they have to fight a 4-way match for it.
I don't know where this came from. I don't know if they announced it on YouTube, but it's if you have a logical bone in your body, you know how this is going to turn out. Last week they just built it up, just as you said. No need to repeat it. There's no way in any world, in any dimension, that SCU is going to lose this match. And just to reiterate that, the commentators in this match are constantly shoving it down your throat. SCU can't lose this match because then they'll have to split up. SCU told us weeks ago that if they lose another match, they're splitting up for good. The pressure's on SCU. If they lose this match, they don't even have to get pinned to lose this match. Their career as a tag team together is over. SCU can't lose this match. Well, if you take that information and the information we received last week,
why watch this match?
You got your winner. Yeah, there is no reason to watch this match because you know it's just going to be complete anarchy and chaos.
Now, the match was... We're not going to break down this whole match. We already talked about what happened, who won, and why they won. But wouldn't it make this match a little more interesting since they had 2 rings set up last night? If they would have had a tag team match in each ring, but you could be tagged in to any ring. You know what I'm saying? So you would stand in between. So you would stand on the insides of the thing or whatever, and you could get tagged in, so you could win. But then the winners of those matches combine into one ring, and then they fight. Do you get what I'm saying? To make this a little more interesting. So you could have 2 teams in one ring fighting, 2 teams in this ring, but you could tag into this one. Somebody from that side could tag you in there. You could be in this match, and then eventually you have 2 winners, and then now those 2 winners continue the match, and then you go on from there. It'd be a little clusterfuck, but it's AEW. Who gives a shit?
I was going to say, it would be a little contrived and overbooked, but it would be better than what this was. This match, what I had to do, I had to oh man, I have trouble with this word. Compartmentalize.
There you go.
There you go. Easy for me to say. This match into separate matches in order to watch it because my finger was on the trigger. I wanted to fast forward it through because there's no anticipation of who's going to win. But I watched it and I broke it down into separate things. I watched the Acclaimed freestyle there at the beginning. That was kind of funny. Don't remember his name from the Acclaimed, but the rapper of the two referred to the Young Bucks as the Young Cucks, and he couldn't just leave that alone. He had to say, yeah, I said it. But Kaz and Jungle Boy are starting off this match, and that was a great matchup. Frankie Kazarian and Jungle Boy, give me that one-on-one, and I'd be highly entertained.
Yeah. I think they could have just, even if they would have used two rings for put the Acclaimed and Jungle, Lucha Express over there, and then you've got SCU and the Varsity Blondes in the other ring, and then you could even just have those 2 matches going on at the same time. Then the winners of those matches immediately go into another match. Make it like a little mini quick tournament right there. That would have been even a little more entertaining for me to hang out and watch. But this was just a lot going on. When they had the good matchups, they had good matchups. But when they had shit in there, they had shit in there.
Yeah, it was. That's the way this whole thing went. And it seemed like at one point that they're running low on time or something. Luchasaurus just gets in the ring, seemingly out of nowhere, and he's just cleaning house. He choke slams the Varsity Blondes on top of each other. The Blondes roll out of the ring, and then he choke slams Kaz out of there. And at this point, my poor dog's going nuts because this ring that they chose to use, they used the right ring if you're behind the camera here. This ring was so squeaky and so bouncy. This is clearly their practice ring or something. And you just had these subtle high pitch squeak, 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 squeak.
Stella
and my poor
losing her
dog's
mind.
doing so many my dog's doing so many head tilts that I had to buy her a neck brace after this match.
Stella's over there going, "Where's my toy? Where's my toy? Where's my toy?"
Brian Pillman Jr. was the standout star of this match, 1,000%,
Just
and
about
rightfully so.
Just about any time he's in the ring, it seems to be the standout star of a match.
Yeah, precisely. One of the commentators pointed out that Pillman Jr. was wearing his dad's panties, and that that timeline seemed to work out well because today, in fact, is the official debut of Dark Side of the Ring with their first episode, a 2-hour special on Brian Pillman Sr.
Yeah,
So
can't wait to see that.
Pillman killed it. Great dedication to his dad here. He's a standout for sure. But ultimately, SCU gets the pen on Pillman, and SCU remains the number one contenders.
They just give you the ending of stuff. So they lead it up that if they ever lose, they're going to break up. Okay. Then they say last week, we're the number one contenders. And then this week, they put them in a match saying if the winner gets it. Well, also, if they don't win it, they have to break up. So they're going to get it. And the worst is if they give it to them next week and don't save it for 2 or 3 weeks or whatever it is at their pay-per-view for Double or Nothing
Right.
on Labor Day or Memorial Weekend. You're going, you idiots.
Yeah, I have my thoughts a little bit further down on my notes here that pretty much AEW is just constantly blowing their load. They can't wait for the prom queen to come in. They're just blowing their load on any skank that walks past them at this point. All these matches that should be saved to make money on, they're just throwing them out there. It's just desperation at this point. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Next on our agenda here, we got Jon Moxley in the back with a pre-tape promo, cutting a promo on Nagata. I personally don't watch Japanese wrestling. I don't know who Nagata is, but AEW did a good job of a video package here. I'm interested in seeing Jon Moxley fight Nagata at this point.
Yeah, I used to dabble more several years back into the New Japan. I remember him coming over, as Tony Schiavone stated, in WCW with Sonny Ono. In WCW, the Japanese guy, and he was the manager, and he would bring guys over from New Japan. But he didn't come over and do anything in WCW. He just jobbed out. But nonetheless, he's a renowned star over there in Japan, and he's going to come over here, and they're going to defend a IWGP championship in an AEW ring, which is, I don't want to say groundbreaking, but a thing that hasn't happened in a long time. Stuff like that happening, and other titles being defended in other promotions.
And this is precisely, actually, right where I made my comment here about AEW's just constantly giving away shit for free that they shouldn't. If you're going to build this matchup this much and you're going to be defending a New Japan title in an AEW ring, just wait for Double or Nothing. That if you have me, who hasn't watched more than 6 minutes of Japanese wrestling in the past year, excited to see Jon Moxley versus Nagata, save it for pay-per-view. Save it for Double or Nothing. It's a few weeks away. But no, we're just going to give it away on free TV next week.
Unless their buy rates are absolutely terrible and they're going to make more money off of having an average of 1 million viewers, and then that way commercials are worth more.
Yeah, it just seems desperate. It seems that they know their numbers are going down, and it's hard for them to stay in the 7 figures with viewers, and they're just throwing everything at the wall that they can to keep them over 1 million at this point.
Yeah, well, We'll see. So that's supposed to be going on next week, right? This Nagata
Yeah, that's
Moxley?
supposed to be next week.
All right. Well, we'll see.
And it's promo time. We're just burning time at this point before we get to the cage match here, the Blood and Guts. We've got Tony Schiavone standing by the cage with Kenny Omega, and Kenny Omega comes out, and he's wearing the AEW Championship belt. He's got Oil Boy fucking Nakazawa behind him with the other 3 belts in his arms, and Kenny Omega just cutting a promo on Orange Cassidy because Tony Schiavone lets us know that the match for the number 1 contender, Brian.
So first off,
the number 1 contender for the AEW Championship belt at this point is between Pac, who we never see besides in a tag team match every now and again, and Orange Cassidy. That'll put butts in the seats.
Yeah. The worst part is that they buried that in his promo here, Kenny buries Orange Cassidy so hard that he's not going to beat Pac, and then he's not going to beat him for the title, that he's going to be the one that beats Pac. Now, will they put the strap on him? I don't think they'll do that right now. But he's going in. He's going to get a title shot. Orange Cassidy is going to get a title shot.
Right. So just as a wrestling fan, a fan of wrestling, I don't think Pac or Orange Cassidy deserve a shot at the number 1 title in AEW right now. Pac at some point could, but he just hasn't had any type of push or any type of build up that would put Pac in your head as a possible AEW champion. Orange Cassidy is a comedy act. Let's just get down to brass tacks. He's there for comedy effect. And just to reiterate what you said, it makes it so blatantly obvious when Kenny Omega doesn't even acknowledge Orange Cassidy's existence and buries him so hard that the joke is given away. Orange Cassidy will be fighting Kenny Omega at Double or Nothing after he somehow sneaks out a victory against Pac.
And it'll be a sneak, too. It'll be a
it will.
Hands in the pocket type win. He's like, I won. Whatever. There's been no evolution to this character. I know you throw me under the bus for making stance for Orange Cassidy about a year ago. I still believe that Orange Cassidy is a talented wrestler and a talented in the ring as an athlete. I'll defend that. I still find some of the goofy stuff I find funny. I find the hands in the pocket, like that's how he hulks up. It makes me chuckle. I don't know. It's so stupid. It makes me laugh. I find the air kicks to the shins when he does the whoa and he does the super kick and it's like to the shin. It makes me laugh. Is it go ahead and run with my company and keep that going? No. And I even said that when I defended Orange Cassidy. I said that there's more to Orange Cassidy that he can come out with, and he still hasn't done that yet. There's been no evolution with Orange Cassidy since we've discovered Orange Cassidy.
Right. I just in case the fans at home don't remember, Brian, around the time of the football fuckery, said Orange Cassidy is the next Shawn Michaels.
No, is. I said has the potential.
No, I'm just
yes.
I'm just tugging on your nuts here, but
he has the potential
Orange
to
Cassidy,
be. I still say he has potential to be something, but he has to evolve into something else, and they're just running hard with this whatever hands in the pockets all the time thing. That's not going to be the guy to run and own your company.
His character has not developed one iota in the past year.
No,
and he's doing the same jokes every week. Again, like he's touring from flea market to flea market and performing to a new 25 people every week. You're performing to the same 8 or 900,000 people every week, and you're doing the same jokes. How they haven't wore off yet, because this crowd popped for Orange Cassidy for doing absolutely nothing
Now,
so hard.
in the defense, because did you know this was taped last when we were watching it until you read the scuttlebutt on the inner tubes?
I had read it was taped actually before I watched it.
Okay,
but
see, I missed it, so I thought the same thing. Like, God dang, they're popping for him. Now, learning that this was recorded, they haven't seen a live person in front of them yet. They've been watching recorded TV. So now they've got Kenny Omega comes trouncing out, and you get Orange Cassidy. Yeah, the people might get excited. Finally, something to watch and see actually in front of me. So that might change they might give a double pop just for something happening in front of them after an hour of sitting there with their thumb up their butt.
Yeah, precisely. Finally, somebody worth something, an AEW champion and their favorite comedy actor on TV after sitting there for 50 minutes. Yeah. But Omega spent so much time on this promo, just like you and I are spending so much time shitting on this promo. But at one point, taking Orange Cassidy's glasses off, somehow appraising them at $900 and giving them to Nakazawa here.
$900 street value, so like to a bootlegger. So that's
okay.
It was. I didn't understand his math on that.
Because some freshly squeezed, and where he got that from, a pair of gold Ray-Ban aviators. I don't know if they came out of Orange Cassidy's ass personally. I don't think they would be worth $900.
Yeah, those just like regular like $49 sunglasses, some regular old everyday run of the mill shit.
But it is what it is. There's no way Pac's gonna win the match next week. It's pretty much been written right there for us. Tony Khan's boy Orange Cassidy will be fighting Kenny Omega at Double or Nothing.
That's our wild call to see if what's gonna happen with that. And then we get another promo, don't we?
Right. I don't know if we hit a commercial break at this point or if Shivani was just chugging along here, but we've got Tony Schiavone with Miro, and Miro cut a promo on Darby Allin. He's next week. Miro will be fighting Darby Allin, challenging him for that TNT belt. But I'm going to be honest with you, Brian. I could not pay attention to Miro cutting this promo at all. I have no idea what Miro said. I actually had to rewind it because Tony Schiavone is a fucking clown. Tony Schiavone, please go back. If you didn't watch this promo at home, kids, go home and rewind it and watch it on your DVRs. Tony Schiavone is mouthing every word of Miro's pre-written promo on Darby Allin.
Not only mouthing, but squinting to read it, and he looks like he's having a stroke.
At one point, I personally thought Tony Schiavone was trying to keep himself from mouthing the words, and that's why he's trying to distract himself.
Yeah,
by looking around like he's having a seizure.
It was a rough one. Like I watched it and then watched it back. That was bad. I'm like, what is it? Old Skiavone? Like, you're on live TV, guy. Stop trying to read at long. The only thing I can think of is that he was reading his promo, that there was either a cue card in front of him or a script somewhere, or he had memorized it from practice, and he was just hoping that Miro could get through it on live TV. I'm not sure what it was.
Maybe that was his way of coaching Miro to, if I mouth the words, maybe he'll actually cut a decent promo here. But I don't know. But the long and short of it, no need to drag it out here. Miro is fighting Darby Allin. In my mind, my logical brain, Miro should absolutely squash Darby Allin next week, and that should be a wrap on Darby Allin's TNT title run. But I've been watching AEW since its inception here, and Miro will not win next week.
Nope.
That's my wild call.
Miro is going to dominate 99.8% of this entire match. He is going to ragdoll Darby Allin from pillar to post from from the back of the arena to the front of the arena, and then at the last possible second, he's gonna squeak out a win. That's just it. That's just the way it's gonna happen. He's going to get his ass kicked, and he's gonna get ragdolled all over the place because hi, I'm Darby Allin, and welcome to Jackass is going to be the name of the show. Throw me off of this, power bomb me through that, punch me into this, and then as long as I can win, we're good. And that's what's going to happen. And what I think is really going to happen is that what's-his-name is going to get involved. Kip Sabian is going to get involved somehow and help Miro lose or distract Miro to lose.
Right. And I'm going to agree with you 100% on that one, Brian. I think that's exactly what's going to happen. And AEW at this point has gotten extremely predictable. So if that doesn't happen, if not only Miro will lose, I guarantee that Miro's going to lose. But if Kip Sabian's not involved, and if Kip Sabian doesn't cause Miro to lose, I will be genuinely and fully surprised.
100%. And then I think we move on right into Blood and Guts, right?
We are to our main event. AEW is now live on TNT. Our audience finally gets to see a live part of the show. It is time for Blood and Guts. We've got the Pinnacle, which is MJF's squad, going up against Chris Jericho's Inner Circle. And was there something behind it, Brian, or was this just kind of random that Chris Jericho's team all were wearing prison uniforms from their respected cities or counties?
I think that was just their team thing. They came out as a team wearing prison things, right? They're getting put into a cage. It was like they're going to jail. The thing. I think that was just their little gimmick. And then then they all put their from counties that they either were lived in or nearby or represented their hometown for the local jails, which just kind of whatever, little nod, tip of the hat to your past. And they looked good together. They had a little uniform going into this thing. I thought it was creative. Okay. I liked it.
Yeah, I get it. I just didn't know if there was something more behind it.
Nope, I think it was just as simple as what you saw.
And proud and powerful there, Santana and Ortiz. They didn't stick with the gimmick for very long. They didn't keep their prison uniform intact. Theirs was around their waist while they're wearing wife beaters, and they honestly just looked like diesel mechanics.
I'm going to say that it looked like those boys may have worn one of these before.
They were awfully comfortable in it.
I like when they paint their face when they come out, like they have the war paint on.
Right.
I think it's cool. That. It's very they did it in that one hardcore match where it was outside. About beginning of back in the pandemic there, and then they did like maybe one other time, and I didn't get it the first time, but they just get it like it's just they're going to war, so they save it for big, mean, strong, scary matches that they got to go in and give their all for. So I like it. I like that, and I like the little face paint gimmick.
Right. So that's how this thing's going. We got Pinnacle versus Inner Circle. The rules of this one are 2 guys start the match. It's going to be a 1-on-1 for 5 minutes. After that, Pinnacle has the advantage, so they will exchange guys every 2 minutes. A new member of each team will come into the ring. We're starting off here with Sammy Guevara and Dax Harwood, Dax the Axe, and I couldn't be happier with the 2 starting this match. This was another one I just picked out of the bunch. And this was a 1-on-1 match that I was highly entertained by.
These 2 laid it all on the line. They went for it. They said, we're going to start this thing off, and we're going to be in here the entire time. And we have all eyes on us right now. It was their time to steal. For one, they get to help the main event steal the show, which is what the main event is supposed to do, as it is anyways. But they got to steal their segment. They got 5 minutes, basically uninterrupted, to go in and kick ass and show off. And I think they did a great job of that.
Right. And these 2 put on an actual wrestling match. The comedy spots were minimal. There was at one point with Sammy slamming Dax's head into the turnbuckle. He took turns with 3 slams on the top turnbuckle. 3 slams on the middle, 3 slams on the bottom turnbuckle, and then one just for good measure right there on the ring post with the camera. That was only goofy type thing, overacted type thing that I saw between these two. Dax wasting no time getting color. Right around the 4-minute mark, Dax is already split open and walking around with a crimson mask.
Yeah, I wasn't positive. I was trying to see if I could catch him blading or if I was going to see something. I didn't catch anything, but a bald guy like that in the ring, in not just in the ring, but I'm saying a bald guy like that in that ring with lots of steel fencing around him, he may have just may have caught something there and sliced his head open. I'm not sure what happened, but nonetheless, it worked great for the story.
Yeah, definitely. Dax is a good bleeder for sure. Sean Spears was next to enter the ring, and he enters with a chair with a Canadian maple leaf painted on it. And I'm fine with a war game style match, a blood and guts match with weapons, and I'm fine with a chair. I was just happy it wasn't a toolbox full of rubberized hammers and screwdrivers,
Right.
like we saw
At the NXT.
previously.
Yeah, when the NXT had their war games and the girls brought in a toolbox full of tools, that the only logical thing that was going to happen is somebody was going to get murdered with these tools. So we've seen chairs in wrestling before, and it's kind of his gimmick as he calls himself the chairman. So sure, if he wants to bring a chair in, I like that it wasn't overused.
Right, it wasn't overused, and we get this thing. This match is very nice still at this point. Sean Spears brings his chair with him. Sammy puts up a good fight, trying to fight off both Dax and Sean Spears at this point. Sean gives Sammy a chair shot to the dome. This is something we're starting to see more and more in AEW. We saw a pile driver earlier in the show. We're seeing chair shots to the head. AEW's kind of dancing on the line a little bit with moves that are banned in WWE.
Yeah. I think you can't do the regular pile driver. I'm not sure about the tombstone unless it was only Undertaker that was allowed to do it. But it was probably he's the only one that was allowed to do it, period, before even pile drivers were banned.
Right. It's the sit-down pile driver that's precisely banned in WWE, thanks to our boy Owen Hart. But and whoever did it to Draws, was that D'Lo?
Yeah, I think D'Lo. D'Lo. And then but this match here, I think they didn't overuse, or that chair shot to the head. I'm sorry, I got confused on what spot we were at. The chair shot to the head was a little risque. I'm not sure if that's a good thing to be bringing back.
Right, and whoever was working the cameras at this point did a pretty good job on that. I don't know if that was the cleanest chair shot. I don't know if it was a direct chair shot to Sammy's head at this point, but that camera cut right at the precise moment, so you didn't really see the impact. So it looked good on TV.
That's all you need. You got 1 million people on TV, and you got a couple thousand people with mediocre seats behind you. So go with the million people.
Precisely. Ortiz is next to enter, and he also brings in a chair. Ortiz attacks Dax right off the bat, and this is where things start to get a little goofy. We got to put some. We can't have this many guys in a ring and not have a contrived, over-scripted spot here. We got Sammy Guevara and Sean Spears. The rings are joined together. The two sets of ropes, the ropes on each set of ring, are probably a foot and a half apart at this point. Sammy Guevara, Sean Spears, each standing on their respective ropes. Both guys balancing and both guys hugging and locking up and hitting each other or whatever. And the results is a Sammy Guevara Spanish fly. Sammy Guevara had to get his shit in. That's what it boils down to.
Those damn Spanish flies, I can never tell who gets hurt. And the worst part is you can never tell who gets hurt is because both of them sell it. So they both flip. Sean Spears grabs his stomach. Sammy Guevara's, he's writhing in pain. And you're going, who got hurt and who was the winner of that? And I just never know. It's confusing. It's confusing move. I don't like it. It doesn't make sense that it could ever be set up and actually happen. And I wish to never see it again. And now we continue on talking about this match.
Yes, overproduced, overacted, contrived spot. I'm glad it was over and done with. Cash Wheeler enters at this point, and we're back to Pinnacle having the advantage. Cash Wheeler, once he enters this match, Pinnacle's on top again. Pinnacle's in charge. And that lasts for about the solid 2 minutes until Santana, the other half of Proud and Powerful, enters and just absolutely cleans house. Santana is kicking everybody's ass. And then we get Wardlow.
Now, Wardlow, I believe, got to come in during a commercial break. God bless him.
Yeah, that was another spot where I kind of rewound a little bit back to the commercial. I hate picture-in-picture. I try my best not to watch it. But as I'm fast-forwarding, I'm like, what the hell? Wardlow is in the ring, and we're still in picture-in-picture. So, to be honest, I don't really know too much of what happened while Wardlow was in there. I'm sure he just threw some people around, did some power moves until his nemesis, Jack Hager, entered the ring.
Yes, Jake Hager enters the ring, and then they get these two bulls to square off, and so that was an interesting thing. Obviously, they brought the guys in a good order. You know, they brought them in, starting out with Sammy. It was the beginning was off because it was a singles guy in a tag team, half of a tag team, but then they squared it up. You would have thought it might have been Shawn Spears and Sammy to start it off because they were the ones having the promo back and forth last week.
Right. Yeah, that would be logical, but I was happy with the way it turned out.
They brought him in a good respective order of guys that made sense to be in the ring together at the same time. So to have, Jake Hager follow Wardlow made a lot of sense.
Yeah, and they definitely played up. They're really playing up this Battle of the Bulls here. Once Jake Hager enters, he cleans house, and everyone is playing dead. Everyone's knocked out, so that we can just put the spotlight on Wardlow and Jake Hager at this point, so these two guys can go at it. And it ends up just being a lot of sloppy brawling, to be honest, between Jake Hager and Wardlow here.
Yeah. What's JR say? All sizzle, no steak. It was bowling shoe ugly.
Pretty much. And then our final member of Pinnacle enters this match. That would be MJF. And pretty much at this time, we're just killing time. We want to get Jericho into the ring, so we need to kill about 2 minutes. MJF gets in there and they kill some time. Get everybody into their respected rings. One, I believe it's Ortiz, is stuck in Pinnacle's ring, so they kind of do a beatdown on him, shove him to the other ring. So you got one ring with the entire Pinnacle team in it. You've got the other ring with the entire inner circle besides Jericho in it. And right on cue, 3, 2, 1, Jericho enters. We have our face-off. Full team versus full team, and they clash together right in the middle, and the unstoppable force meets the immovable object, Brian.
Yes,
they collide right in the middle.
To quote Gorilla Monsoon, and they did a good job. I was nervous that it was going to go off like a steaming pile of dog shit when they actually tried to collide, because there was a decent amount of space between the rings. Not a lot,
right,
but enough, and that they wouldn't be able to reach each other and it wouldn't flow. But they made it work. They did the good old, Braveheart collide fairly well. The good thing that AEW did with this ring is they left a roof on top of their War Games ring, like WCW always had, and WWE now has removed the roof from their ring. But AEW has done differently than WCW is they made the roof to that ring on that cage obnoxiously tall. So that way nothing can happen, because there's a good old video of Sid Vicious powerbombing Brian Pillman, and Sid hits Brian Pillman on the roof of the cage and then spikes him straight down because his momentum got thrown off and about breaks Pillman's neck in the ring. So they put the roof up very high. So this was able to be, there was good jumping. So when they collided, people could jump over the ropes, they could get things done, and it didn't look too ugly and sloppy.
Yeah, that's a very good point. They did a good job on this ring, and as we move on, we'll see another thing AEW did that's a little different with their roof. that ended up working out well. But Jericho, his weapon of choice is his baseball bat, and you just can't hide Jericho's hits with the baseball bat. They're always going to be ginger. They're always going to look weak. And I think Jericho should just lose the bat, to be honest.
Yeah, it's time to put Floyd away. Floyd is a heel gimmick, and clearly the Inner Circle are faces now. And that's fine, but it's time to put the bat away.
Yes, leave Floyd at home, Jericho. We get some brawling through a commercial break. We're trying to get these commercial breaks out of the way so that we can just be uninterrupted at the climax of this match. But we come back from the commercial break, and all of a sudden, Brian, the canvas and the padding of the ring is completely tore up. We get to see FTR, the complete FTR, take a double pile driver on the exposed wood of the ring. And at this point, I notice also on the same ring that's been torn to shreds, the top rope is completely ripped off of this ring.
Yeah.
They went ham on this particular ring.
During the commercial break, things got a little wily out there, and they tore the house down. And yeah, that one ring was completely wrecked up. Hopefully it wasn't the good one, and they didn't leave us the squeaky one to watch for the next remaining weeks.
I don't know. The way it looked, the left ring was the good one and the right one was a squeaky one. So we might have a squeaky Wednesday night next week. But Sammy Guevara pays his little tribute to Shane McMahon at this point. Sammy Guevara pulls a pretty smooth coast to coast on Shawn Spears here. Shawn Spears in the opposite corner of the ring. Guevara goes coast to coast, kicks a chair right into Shawn Spears' face. And I thought that looked pretty clean.
Yeah, pulled it off very well. Looked good. That's always a scary one, too, because if you miss, you're going to miss by a mile. You're either going to hit or miss terribly. It's not going to be like, oh, he just tapped it, and then the person doesn't know what to do that's behind the chair or behind the garbage can. So if you can get it, get it. Sammy was flying around that ring pretty good. So, again, it was nice that they kept the roof high so people can move and do some stuff in there and not feel like caged animals.
Right, for sure. MJF at this point, MJF ends up with a crimson mask also, which looked pretty good on him after Proud and Powerful busted out their fork, and we got our fork spot. Now MJF's bleeding, Dax is bleeding, Cash is bleeding. We got the whole Pinnacle at this point just spewing blood.
Yeah, and I'm not mad at some color these days because WWE has, taken that away from us for so long that we haven't seen color in a lot of matches for so long that it's nice to see the color come back to some matches, and especially in a match that would probably need and have some color in it would be this match right here.
Yeah, this is blood and guts. This is War Games. We need color.
The name of it is Blood and Guts. So if you don't get blood and guts, you better have some blood. And then I think it just made first. It just told the story of what was happening well, and then, AEW slowly starts to happen. Here, Eric.
Yeah, we start off. We're approaching the climax of this match here. Wardlow, at this point, Inner Circle's in full control of this match. Wardlow hulks up a little bit, and he starts to come back, but he is ultimately beat down by the Inner Circle. Tully Blanchard at this point decides to beat up the referee, and he's cracking open the cage for MJF. And I don't know what MJF's goal was. If his goal was just to get away from this match and to escape, he should have just went through the tunnel or went out the Moxley exit and been in the parking lot. But MJF's method of escaping this match was to get out of the cage and to climb to the top of the cage and lay down. And then we go to commercial break. Or no, that actually happened during the commercial break.
Yes, they had some pretty big things happening during commercial break, I thought, that should have been saved for the TV, but I don't know if they weren't communicating with the refs or if they really just didn't give a shit. They're like, we've got picture-in-picture, people will watch. And if you're watching live, you've got no option. But if you did pre-record it and or start it late, you were able to not have to watch these commercial breaks. I thought they should have worked it backwards and been like, got this thing sponsored by somebody and been like, we're not having any commercial breaks, or we're having limited commercial breaks, or they were going to do reverse picture-in-picture and put the commercials in the small spot of the TV and leave the wrestling going. But they didn't do. They just kept it going, and it seemed like they took a lot of breaks, but they did give this thing a lot of time as it needed it. But it seemed like there was a lot of breaks, a lot of commercial breaks in this.
Right. And I guess normally on a normal Wednesday night show, we probably would have got at least 3 matches out of this time. So yeah, the commercial breaks kind of line up, but that entire spot, just to reiterate, from Tully beating up the ref and opening the cage to MJF climbing the trusses here and laying down on top of the cage, that entire spot from beginning to end happened during the picture-in-picture break. So that was a little funky. That should have been altered in one of the ways you suggest here. That could have came out so much better. But we come back from break, and now we've got Chris Jericho climbing the truss to join MJF on top of the cage. And this is where I notice another thing AEW did with their War Game style cage. Top of this cage is solid, Brian. And I thought that was I don't know if it's just plexiglass under the fence or what exactly it is, but it's solid and I like it.
Yeah, looked like it was designed to be up there and walking on, and it didn't look as shaky and scary as we've seen people on top of cages before, falling through them, and then just that trying to do moves on top of them doesn't bode very well a lot of times when they're on there on a literal sinking cage as the chain link is caving in on top of Hell in the Cell or whatever they're on. So it was good. I like how they had it squared off to actually walk on, and they can actually get up there and perform on it and in front of the crowd.
And perform they did. We end up with Walls of Jericho on MJF because we know that, as we saw last week, submission moves hurt a lot more when you're 20 or 30 feet in the air.
If you're higher, they hurt way more.
Yeah, so we immediately get a Walls of Jericho. MJF busts out of that with a low blow. And then we have Salt of the Earth immediately put on Jericho. And during both submissions, we're being teased that the person on the receiving end of these submissions is going to give up. Neither happens. MJF has to get his heel shit in, and this was a good spot for it. I'm not shitting on this spot. MJF pulls his ring out of his panties, which had to be pretty gross at this point with blood and sweat and God knows what's going on down there. MJF slips his diamond ring on, gives the diamond punch to Chris Jericho here, and Chris Jericho is out on his feet, and we're approaching the end, Brian.
We're approaching the W of AEW and an AEW finish. We're up there. Things are going well. And then it starts to, as you like to say, the afterbirth.
Yes. So at this point, they're teasing us. We've got MJF. He's got Chris Jericho, who's out on his feet. We're on top of a cage, which is extremely high in the air. This is probably a legitimate 16 to 18 feet in the air. And we've got MJF teasing that he's going to throw Jericho off of this cage. Immediately flashbacks are in your head. 1998, Undertaker, Mankind, Hell in a Cell. They're tickling us here. They're teasing us. And at this point, Sammy Guevara interrupts, and Sammy Guevara is pleading with MJF, please don't throw Jericho off the top of the cage. MJF keeps threatening to throw Jericho off. Tell Sammy if he doesn't want to see Jericho thrown off the cage that he better give up. And at this point, Sammy Guevara surrenders the match.
So the only way to win,
very anticlimactic.
Only way to win was submission and surrender, right? Those are the two things you can win by. You couldn't win by pinfall. The submission, surrender, not escaping the cage, submission, surrender. Those are the two things. And then if you don't want me to do this, surrender. And I surrender. Like he only asked like once, or maybe twice. It was very. I wish my kids
Yeah, I
listened
think
that
it
well.
was twice. Yeah.
I wish my kids listened that well. It was just bad, and so, but it was very, very anticlimactic. It was just like, all right, we surrender, and then. Like Proud and Powerful didn't react. Like, Sammy, what did you do? Like, not necessarily turn on Sammy, but just a reaction, right?
Right.
There was no reaction from FTR in the ring and Sean Spears of like, we did it. It just ended, but the cameras just stays on MJF and Jericho, and that's kind of still the main focus. So it doesn't focus on them winning. Pinnacle doesn't get a celebration, and the Inner Circle doesn't get a chance to throw a fit, if you will, and pout for losing. So nothing happens. It was very anticlimactic, as you said, and there's nothing to add to it. So I thought the ending was whack and weak, and then it continues on.
Right. And you can't, at this point, because it's AEW, and because the official ending of the match was so bad that we're gonna get another afterbirth. But you can't. It's lazy booking. You're relying on the afterbirth of the match to get the oohs and ahs, to get the excitement. You have to book a match like nothing's gonna happen afterwards, because in the real world, if these two teams, if these two gangs, if you will, were actually fighting, it's not, the end isn't planned. The exciting afterbirth isn't planned. We want an exciting ending. And this was a very boring ending. Sammy's not even mic'd. He's not near a mic. You just hear a faint voice saying, I surrender, I surrender. And then AEW does its thing. MJF, at this point, the camera's still on him for another 30, 40 seconds. He proceeds to throw Chris Jericho off the top of the cage, Brian. Chris Jericho takes a flat back bump onto the most obvious crash pad I've ever seen in my entire life. I have not seen a more obvious padded fall than this match right here.
You're right. In the defense, though, I don't blame Jericho for not wanting to not crash into a crash pad. But what they didn't need to do is sell it the way that it was sold. They should have said, we outlined this match, we knew this was going up here, and we put some crash pads along outside of the ring to sell it. I'm sure it still didn't feel well. Jericho's in his 50s taking a crash pad bump. You know what I'm saying? It still probably hurt, but they should have at least just sold it that we put these out here for the safety. The commissioner made us put them out here, whatever. Because I'm not mad at Jericho for wanting to take that bump into a crash pad. I'm just mad at how they sold it, that it was not a crash pad.
This could have been covered up and done so much better with good camera work. This was the absolute worst camera to pick, the absolute worst camera angle to pick upon impact. You just saw Chris Jericho go through these painted or wallpapered things that were supposed to look like metal plates. And you just see they just completely fold in on themselves like they're made out of cardboard, and Jericho lands on a mattress. You could have did this thing from a weird angle, and you could have just saw Jericho hit and be splayed out. You didn't have to make it extremely obvious that there's one crash pad that's 10 feet by 10 feet, and MJF was aiming for it. It was just extremely obvious. A terrible ending. It could have been covered up or at least kind of written in, just like you said.
They one or the other, right? They either had to shoot it different or tell the same story, but just saying, hey, these crash pads are out here for the safety of our competitors. We know somebody's fallen from something, so we're trying to protect people.
And just leave it at that. Leave it at crash pads. But with them covering up said crash pad with fake looking plating that was clearly made out of cardboard or balsam wood, that just made it so planned,
And that
so faked.
And then the commentators didn't sell it that it was a crash pad. Oh my God, they threw Jericho off of it. Then the doctors come out. They're seeing to Chris Jericho. A camera, nobody's filling Jericho in on where cameras are and what's happening. They come over. His eyes are wide open. He's blinking and moving his head around. And then Jericho focuses in, realizes there's a camera there, and lays his head back and closes his eyes as he's supposed to be being worked on. The commentators don't sell it either, so they don't help anything. They should have been like, well, at least it looks like his eyes were open and he was moving around there for a moment. That's a good sign. They just ignore it. Like, he botched the spot. He didn't know where the camera was. It's fine. It happens. It shouldn't happen, but just the commentators need to paint that picture. And you saw what you saw. You saw that. He moved. But then it looked like he was back out again. He's showing signs of waking up, but he looks like he's out again. That happens with head injuries. You know what I'm saying? Simple as that. Tell me the story. Tell me a story. I'm here. I'm waiting for you. But they don't. As far as we know, JR and Shivani were already in the car on the way home calling Conrad Thompson about planning their next podcast.
Yeah, precisely. And I wish I could remember this TikToker's name that I saw tonight when I was going through. The TikToker explained it this way. If I'm serving you dinner and I serve you this amazing appetizer, this fancy melt in your mouth, amazing appetizer, and that's followed up by a completely loaded baked potato with your favorite toppings on it, cooked perfectly. And next to that is a perfectly cooked tomahawk steak that just melts in your mouth and has amazing flavor. And you're enjoying the entire experience. But now it's time for dessert. And I bring you out one Chips Ahoy chocolate chip crunchy cookie. Your experience of the dinner isn't going to be how good that tomahawk steak was with the baked potato and the appetizers beforehand. You're going to focus on, why'd you give me that shitty cookie?
Yeah. The whole thing's going to be like, how was dinner? This motherfucker gave me a cookie.
Yeah, this guy proceeded to serve me an enjoyable meal throughout, and then topped it off with a hard-ass stale cookie out of a bag.
And then he punched me. This meal sucked. Like, it's just, you just remember the end of it. And I understand what you're saying, and that's what we got. They should have went off the air as soon as he was thrown. Like,
there you go.
They push it and like, oh my God, we gotta go. Oh my God. And before he even hit, been gone. Then you only did it in front of a couple thousand people, right? A couple hundred people at the thing. And you did it to their back, so they didn't get to really see. They just know Jericho fell off, right? They didn't get to see what we saw on TV. Now you have a week post-production to edit and put this together so it looks like money. What happened after we went off the air, right? Now they have time to literally move the crash pad, restage Jericho, and show video of him laying there on the floor. Or pictures, still pictures, right? WWE, supported by AEW magazine style, like WWE used to do back in the day. They could have done a lot of stuff like that, but they didn't. You know, all they got to do is call me. Tony Khan, I'll give you my number. Hit me on the DMs.
So, yeah, the spot, MJF did his part. Jericho took the bump the best way he could have took the bump. The blame just falls on the camera work, the guy working in the truck, picking which camera to look at, and the booking of it, the writing of it. I understand. You want to be safe, but it just came out terrible. And you know what's going to top off this shitty Sunday, Brian, is next week, next Wednesday, Jericho's going to come out like nothing ever happened. Jericho should be off TV for at least 3 weeks, 3 or 4 weeks at this point. He took a fall off of a 25-foot, let's Gorilla Monsoon this thing a little bit, a 25-foot cage. Chris Jericho fell flat on his back off of this 25-foot cage. He should be out for at least 3 or 4 weeks.
He's going to strut right out of there, isn't he?
He's going to strut right out on Wednesday night and be like, MJF, you're on my list.
You're on my list. And I'm with you. Yep. Well, so that's that, though. The Pinnacle wins, and they're moving forward in their domination of heel tactics. And we shall see what all of this means. We shall see if Chris Jericho walks next week. Is he alive? Is he doing well? Time will tell. But until then, make sure you join us on all of our social media platforms at Facebook, Instagram, TikTok. Join us over here on YouTube, where we do this live every Thursday night. And you can watch along with us and join in the chat and hang out. And that's all I got, Eric. Make sure you guys join us on all of that social media platforms. Leave a rating and a review. And enjoy the podcast. Share it with a friend. And thank you. And Mr. Eric Todd, I'm passing it over to you.
All I have to say to end this show is hooty hoo. We out the gates.